Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I am doing something different. It's making a twiddle board. See you in a minute. Now, what you might ask is a twiddle board. I've heard them referred to as fiddle boards, fidget boards, twiddle boards, all sorts of things. It's something that at Men in Sheds we talked about a year or so ago with the intention of making a few. They are small boards of wood or plastic on which there are things that people with dementia, Alzheimer's, that sort of thing can sit and fiddle with, and the manual sort of dexterity of playing with a door handle or a lock or something like that can calm and make their lives a little bit more bearable. That they tend to get anxiety and all sorts of things unless they've got something to do with their hands, and these things are just there to help stimulate that. We had some homework given us the other week by Jo, who's our fundraiser. She goes out and gets all the funding for the shed, so it's the least I can do to have a go and see if I can make one. The idea is that we're all going to have a go and produce something that we think might be useful, and then if as and when we ever get back to the shed, it's been a year now, but never mind, we'll get there. When we get back we can all see what is looking best, what sort of ideas have come out of it, and perhaps have a chat with some of the local care homes. I know the one that we deal with quite closely in Bromsgrove, they've got a special floor that is basically people with dementia problems, so maybe with some feedback as well. But it was just getting used to this idea of building them, so I'm going to see what I've got, have a walk around the house and the shed and the garage, see what bits I've got, see if we can't make something, and see what it looks like at the end of it. Right, so the first thing I need is a board. Best thing I've got at the moment is a piece of the bus, one of the window cutouts. I haven't got that many pieces left. I'll just trim this up square, get rid of all the manky bits. I've then got a box in which to put all the bits that I'm gathering. I've already made a start up in the workroom that in the house amongst my railway stuff. I'm not going to use all of these things on this board, but I'm just gathering together bits at the moment. Switches, always good to be something to play with. Sliders. I've also had a look in the corner in amongst my sustainers, which I couldn't just get at simply, and I've found a load of leftovers from when I was building the MW1000 work table. Got some casters that I've used on various projects, some hinges that I was going to use on the aluminium section, and I've got a couple of caches that I was going to use to attach things together. That's what we've got there. Now I'm just going to go exploring in some of the other boxes that I've got in here that have got all the leftover bits from previous projects. Got some handles, perhaps might be useful just to have a handle on the board if I need to pick it up. Some hinges I bought which turned out to be not quite what I wanted. More hinges. That'd be a bit big, but I don't know. We'll have a look and see. Carabiners. Ironmonger is always a good source. Handles. The trouble is, like everything else, I've thrown a lot of stuff away recently when I had the clear out, but this is more about just making do with what you've got. maybe a plumbing connector, you can't unscrew them, so that's something just to mess with perhaps. Switch, yes. Light switch would be good. A few more bits. It's interesting once you start getting into something like this, you start noticing, you start thinking differently. I found some more plugs and sockets that we used to use on the railway layout. I've got loads of these. So that's got all the bits. I think there's plenty there, and as I say, I think as you walk around from now on, your brain is wired slightly differently, and you start noticing things with a different head on. So that box will no doubt grow, and then it'll give me a chance to make different ones later on. Right, so I've cut a piece of timber and trimmed it up using my new favourite means of cutting it roughly and then doing it with the router. I've rounded over the edges and I've made some other bits, so I think I've got some idea now. I'm going to put a handle at the top purely and simply to be able to lift the thing up more than anything, but whether that will give some fiddling with, I don't know. I've got a switch box for the switch, so we'll put that up there perhaps. I found a door handle which I'm going to put on over that side, and I've got an old radiator valve which I've made a little patras for. I'll drill a 15mm hole right through everything, and then that gives something to turn. And I think I've got the hinge. Just cut a patras and cut it in half that I'm just going to put the hinge on. Might be an idea to put something behind the thing you open, and whether I've got a little knob or something I can just use to have it show the opening one, I don't know, but that will do with that. Got my little caster to roll. I've got a plug and a socket, which again I'm going to mount on a patras, the socket, so that it's up in the air, because otherwise it's quite difficult to get at it if it's down at ground level. I'll just put a piece of wire on that going round to underneath it perhaps. So first thing to do now, I think, is just to get a coat of clear varnish on all of this, just so that it seals the surface a bit. Right, that's got the board one coat of clear. I'll probably give it a wax when I've finished, but this is really experimental more than anything. I'm going to start with the handle. I just need to get a bit of a clearance hole for the actual turning part underneath. So that's the first part. I need to just get that set right angles and get a couple of screws. And then pop the cover plate on. That's the first bit. Now then, I'm going to put a handle on the top, so we'll mark that out next. And I'll just counterbore those on the back a little bit, just to give me some clearance for the head. Right, next we'll have the switch, I think. Put the switch box on. Right, I need to get the screws for that one, but that's that done. Now I need to do the hinge. Right, I think IKEA's come to the rescue on these. Got a couple of suitable ones, fixings I think. We'll try them anyway and see. Yeah, that'll be good. Nice stumpy screw. Got another of the IKEA pieces just to act as a little knob on it to open it. That's it. So if that's then screwed down, that'll give us a little door to open. Next up is the plug and socket. Right, bit of a change of plan. I've just decided that I could feed the cable into that switch box. So that will put a couple of cable ties in there just to secure the end. Put the box cover on, faceplate on for the switch. That's it. So we've got that, We'll just screw that on from the back. I think I'll just drill a 15mm hole right the way through that and into that underneath, and then just sink a piece of copper pipe down into it and screw it onto that and see how that goes. That's great. Right, casters. And I think that's pretty much it now. There's a little bit to do on everything there. Things to move, things to open, things to unplug. See how that goes down. And of course we must then add the final touch. Let them see something when they open the door. Ideally on these some sort of a photograph or something would be ideal, but in this instance we're just trying things out. Here we go. So here's the first fidget board from the small shed. A couple of switches. Something to unplug and plug in. Something to turn. Caster to play with. Handle to open. And a door to open. So there we are, one fiddle board down. I'm used to fiddle boards and being fiddle yards in railways, but these are totally different things. It's given me a new sort of thought process, as I mentioned earlier, that when I'm throwing stuff away now, it's worth just thinking about. It might not be any use to me, but I've thrown away small drawer slides and all sorts of things that would be useful on these little boards. So I hope it was of interest. If it's worth looking up and studying this thing a bit more on the internet. It's amazing what you sort of learn and pick up, and who knows, we might all need one day. So hope we see you all next week. We'll see if we can find something different to do. It'll probably be the bus, no doubt, because that's pretty much all in my life at the moment. But we'll see you then. Bye.